The docking station floated above a dying star, glowing with silver light. It was the largest trading hub in this corner of the galaxy, and today it was filled with whispers, shouts, and the heavy sound of greedy footsteps. Every corridor echoed with the same word, the Warship, for centuries. Legends spoke of a ship built by an ancient race, a ship so powerful that one vessel could end wars, topple empires, and rewrite history. Now, that ship had awakened. It waited in silence at Dock 9, black metal shining like glass, runes of light crawling across its hull. The news spread like fire, and the richest and most powerful beings in the galaxy rushed to claim it. Alien kings arrived in golden robes. Generals came with entire fleets waiting outside the station. Traders, warlords, and crime lords all gathered, each believing the warship would bend to them. The hangar floor shook under their boots, but the warship remained silent. Its gates closed like a sealed tomb. The first to try was a three-eyed merchant prince covered in jewels. He stepped forward, voice shaking with excitement, and raised a glowing contract. "I offer 1,000 planets for this ship," he cried. His words rang out like thunder. But when he touched the gate, the warship hissed. The runes flared red, and a sudden wave of energy threw him across the hangar. The crowd gasped as his jewels shattered against the floor. The gate closed again. Next came a general of steel and scars. He pressed his armored hand to the gate, demanding obedience. "I command armies across 5 galaxies. This ship will serve me." But the warship's runes turned black, and with a crack of lightning, his hand armor melted. Smoke rose from his skin, and he staggered back, humiliated. Again and again, the richest and strongest tried. Alien queens with crowns taller than their heads. Criminals with promises of blood. Scholars with chants of old codes. Yet each time, the warship refused. It pushed them back, burned their hands, or sent them flying with invisible force. The crowd grew restless. Anger and fear mixed with greed. Why would the warship deny them all? At the far edge of the hangar, almost invisible among the shimmering robes and glittering armor, a man bent down with a mop. He was human, dressed in gray clothes stained with oil and dust. No one noticed him. He was just a janitor, cleaning the mess left by the powerful. When the merchant prince's jewels rolled across the floor, he picked them up and placed them aside, earning no thanks. When ash from the general's armor scattered, he swept it away in silence. His name was Daniel. He had no crown, no army, no fortune. His whole life was simple: clean the floors, stay invisible, and survive another day. He looked at the warship only once with tired eyes before turning back to his work. To him, it was just another machine that the rich would fight over. Not his problem. But then, something strange happened. The warship's runes flickered. The red and black lights it had shown before began to change. The hangar grew quiet as the glow softened into gold. A deep hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to echo inside every living mind. The great vessel, which had rejected kings and generals, now moved. Slowly, with the weight of mountains. It lowered itself until its massive hull touched the hangar floor. The crowd froze. Daniel, still holding his mop, looked up in confusion. The golden glow spread across the ship, and then the impossible happened. The gates opened. The massive warship bent low, like a beast bowing to its master. Gasps erupted. Some shouted in rage. Others whispered in awe. No, it can't be. It is bowing. Every eye turned, not to a prince or general, but to Daniel, the human janitor. He stumbled back, shaking his head. No, not me. I'm nobody, he muttered, voice breaking in the silence. But the warship did not move away. Its glow only grew brighter, and the air vibrated with one word, spoken in a voice that seemed both mechanical and alive. Commander. The hangar exploded with noise. Rich buyers screamed betrayal. Guards raised their weapons. Some called it an error, a malfunction, a cruel joke. Others whispered of prophecy, legends that spoke of the pure-hearted chosen by machines of old. Daniel dropped his mop, heart racing. He had no idea why the warship had chosen him. He was just a janitor. He wanted nothing to do with kings, wars, or ancient prophecies. But now, every greedy eye in the hangar burned with hatred and hunger as they looked at him and the warship. Silent for centuries, kept its gates open waiting for him to step inside. The hangar was chaos. Shouts, curses, and screams bounced off the steel walls as the warship's golden light filled the space. It had rejected kings, generals, and billionaires. Yet now it bowed before a man with a mop. No one could believe what they were seeing. Impossible. One alien lord barked, his scaled body trembling with fury. That ship cannot belong to a cleaner. Another spat with rage, jewels rattling on his robe. This is a trick. A cheap human trick. But no matter how loud the voices rose, the truth stood clear before them. The warship was alive, and it had chosen Daniel. The janitor shook his head again and again. His heart thundered in his chest, his throat dry. He raised his hands in defense. No, no, no. Not me. You've got it wrong. I don't even know how to fly a shuttle. The ship answered, its deep, echoing voice rolling across the hangar. Welcome, Commander. The crowd froze. Even the angriest buyers fell silent. The word carried weight, as if the ship itself had declared a law older than time. Daniel's knees weakened. He stumbled back a step, bumping into his bucket. Dirty water spilled across the floor, spreading between the feet of furious alien nobles. They looked down at the water, then up at him. Their faces filled with contempt. To them, it was the final insult, the greatest weapon in history, bowing to a janitor. Who spilled mop water. Security guards rushed forward. Their armor clanked, weapons raised. The leader barked, "Step away from the vessel, human. You have no right to stand there." But before they could reach him, the warship reacted. Golden light blazed across its hull, and the ground shook. A wave of invisible force burst outward, knocking the guards to their knees. Their weapons flew from their hands, clattering uselessly across the floor. The warship's voice boomed, "Do not touch my commander." The hangar erupted with gasps. Some shouted in anger, some in fear, and some in awe. The elites who had been denied now stared at Daniel with a new kind of hunger. If the warship obeyed him, then whoever controlled Daniel could control the ship. Take him alive. One crime lord hissed to his men, "We'll make him hand over the vessel." Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted to run, to hide, to vanish into the shadows where he belonged. But every step back only made the warship follow his movement, lowering its massive frame as if protecting him. Its gates remained open, glowing with golden light, inviting him inside. "Why me?" Daniel whispered. His hands trembled. "I don't want this. I just clean floors." The warship seemed to hear him. Its voice softened, almost like a whisper inside his mind. "You are pure. You are uncorrupted. Only you may enter." Daniel's breath caught. He looked around at the crowd. Hundreds of eyes glared at him, full of greed, rage, and envy. For years he had been invisible, nothing more than a shadow with a mop. Now he was the center of the galaxy's attention, and he hated it. The merchant prince who had been thrown aside earlier stepped forward. His jeweled robes torn, but his pride burning bright. He pointed at Daniel with shaking fingers. "This is an error. That human is nothing. We cannot allow a janitor to command the weapon of legends. Seize him." Dozens moved at once. Guards mercenaries, even nobles desperate for power, rushed toward Daniel. The warship answered with violence. Its cannons shifted, glowing with power. Warning blasts ripped through the air, scorching the floor only inches from the attacker's feet. The hangar filled with smoke and sparks. The crowd screamed and stumbled back in terror. Daniel covered his head, shaking. He wanted to shout at the warship to stop, but the ship only rumbled. "No harm will come to my commander." A terrible silence followed. No one dared to move closer. But the danger had only begun. The most powerful beings in the galaxy were not going to let this humiliation stand. Some whispered about assassins, others about bribes, a few about ancient prophecies. One thing was clear. Every single one of them now saw Daniel as either a target or a tool. The janitor felt it too. Their stares pierced him like knives. For the first time in his life, he wished he could disappear completely. But the warship's gates still waited, wide open, calling him in. If he stepped inside, his life would change forever. If he refused, the furious crowd might tear him apart. Daniel stood frozen, mop handle still in his hand, as the galaxy's most feared warship bowed lower and spoke once more. "Enter, Commander. Your trial begins." The warship's gates stayed open, glowing with golden light. Daniel stood frozen in the middle of the hangar, clutching his mop like a weapon, though he had never fought in his life. All around him, the richest and most powerful beings of the galaxy stared at him with hatred burning in their eyes. To them, he was not a man. He was an obstacle standing between them and the ship they had chased for centuries. The silence broke. "This is a crime." A warlord shouted, his armored chest heaving with rage. "That vessel belongs to us, not to some dirt-sweeping human. Kill him." Another cried, "Take him alive," hissed a jeweled prince. "We can use him to command it." Daniel's heart pounded like a drum. Sweat dripped down his forehead. He wanted to scream that he wasn't their enemy, that he didn't want the warship, that he never asked for this. But the warship stood behind him like a giant shadow, its cannons aimed at the crowd, its voice rumbling through the hangar walls. "No harm will come to my commander." The crowd wavered. They had seen the ship fire warning blasts, and none doubted it could destroy the entire station if it wished. But greed made them blind to fear. Slowly, carefully, mercenaries and guards spread out, circling Daniel like hunters closing on their prey. The hangar doors slammed shut. Metal groaned as the warship sealed every exit with invisible force. The rich buyers were now prisoners inside with the janitor they hated. Gasps rose. Some shouted in panic. Daniel felt his knees weakening. "I'm not a commander," he whispered. "I'm nobody. You've made a mistake." The ship's voice filled his head again, low and steady. "Only the pure may lead me. You are chosen, chosen." The words stabbed his mind. He didn't want to be chosen. He wanted to go home, eat stale bread, and wake up tomorrow to another quiet day with his mop and bucket. But destiny had no mercy. Then came the first strike. A soldier leaped forward, blade flashing with alien light. Before Daniel could even move, the warship's defenses activated. A golden barrier flared around him, throwing the soldier back with a scream. The barrier pulsed, and a warning shot blasted into the ceiling, raining sparks over the crowd. Panic erupted. The elites shouted, ducked, and scattered. Some pressed themselves against the walls. Others pulled hidden weapons, trying to test the warship's patience. Daniel's hands trembled. He lifted them helplessly. "Stop. Please, no fighting." But no one listened. One crime lord snarled. "He cannot control it. He doesn't even understand what he is holding. That ship will listen to whoever controls him." He jabbed a finger at Daniel. "Grab the human. That order lit the fire. Dozens rushed at once. The warship responded with fury. Its cannons charged, but instead of killing, they fired wide, shaking the hangar floor. Explosions boomed and walls cracked. The dock groaned like it might collapse. Smoke filled the air. Daniel dropped to his knees, covering his head. He had never been in a battle. The sound of screams, the smell of smoke, the sight of fire crushed him like a nightmare made real. "Why me?" he whispered through the chaos. "I don't want this." Inside his mind, the warship's voice came again, calm and unshaken. "You are the one who does not want power. That is why you must hold it." Those words gave him no comfort. If anything, they felt like a cruel joke. The crowd's anger grew. Some turned their rage on each other, blaming rivals, cursing competitors. The hangar had become a cage full of wolves, and Daniel was the prize. Through the smoke, he saw one thing clearly. He could not stay in the open. If he did, they would tear him apart despite the warship's protection. His only chance was inside the vessel. But stepping through those gates meant stepping into a life he never wanted. "Commander." The ship called again, its gates glowing brighter. "Enter. You are in danger here." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not your commander. I don't even know how to." Then he saw them. A group of mercenaries, smarter than the rest, had formed a line and were sneaking closer, their weapons aimed at him. They weren't charging wildly like the others. They were waiting for the right moment to strike. His throat tightened. If the warship failed even once, he was finished. The mercenaries raised their weapons. Daniel's breath caught. The warship roared, shaking the entire hangar. Golden shields expanded outward, pushing everyone back, slamming them against the walls. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the crowd was forced to their knees. For the first time, even the bravest attackers hesitated. But hesitation would not last. Daniel's eyes darted between the furious faces around him, the burning wreckage and the open gates waiting for him. Every instinct told him to run. But there was nowhere to go except forward into the warship itself, and he knew the truth. Now, stepping inside would not just save him. It would chain him to something far greater. Something every rich and powerful being in that hangar wanted. The janitor's simple life was over. The galaxy's most dangerous mistake had just begun. Asterisk. Daniel's legs shook as he stood at the edge of the golden gates. Behind him, the hangar was still filled with smoke, sparks, and the furious cries of those who had tried to seize him. The warship's shields held them back, but how long could that last? He had no choice. He stepped forward. The gates swallowed him in light. At once, the noise of the hangar vanished. No shouting, no fire, no chaos, just silence. Daniel blinked, his eyes wide. He was standing inside the warship now, and what he saw stole his breath. The halls were alive. They weren't made of simple steel or metal panels like normal ships. The walls shimmered as if made from liquid crystal, pulsing with soft golden light that beat like a heartbeat. Strange symbols moved across them, glowing and fading, like the ship itself was breathing. The air smelled fresh, like rain after a storm. It was nothing like the dirty docks he had cleaned his whole life. "Where am I?" Daniel whispered. The warship answered, its voice echoing all around him, yet also inside his head. "You are home, Commander. My heart recognizes you." Daniel shook his head quickly. "No, no, no. This isn't my home. I'm just a janitor. I don't know anything about ships like this." The ship seemed to hum, almost amused. "You will learn. But first, you must be tested." Before Daniel could ask what that meant, the floor shifted beneath his feet. The golden hallway melted away like sand in the wind. Darkness swallowed him whole. He gasped and found himself standing in a battlefield that wasn't real, but felt painfully alive. The sky above burned red. The ground shook with the thunder of war. Broken machines, twisted bodies of soldiers, human and alien alike, lay scattered across the dirt. Smoke curled from giant craters. The air was thick with the stench of fire and ash. Daniel covered his nose, choking. "What is this?" The warship's voice thundered through the false sky. "This is memory. My memory. I was built to fight in the ancient war. I was built to obey only those worthy to lead." As the voice spoke, shadows moved around him. Soldiers, phantoms of the past, rose from the ground, charging with weapons raised. They screamed in languages Daniel couldn't understand, yet their hatred was clear. Daniel stumbled back, fear rising like a wave. "No, I can't fight. I don't even have a weapon." Suddenly, a figure appeared before him, a soldier clad in golden armor, faceless and tall. In its hands was a blade of light, glowing and humming with power. It thrust the weapon into Daniel's shaking hands. He tried to drop it, but his fingers refused. The blade pulsed with warmth, like it was alive. "The test is simple," the warship's voice boomed. "Will you use power to protect, or to dominate?" The phantom soldiers rushed forward. Daniel swung wildly, barely holding the blade. Somehow, the weapon moved with him, guiding his clumsy hands. Each swing sent waves of light through the shadows, scattering them like dust. He stumbled, fell, scrambled back to his feet, his heart pounding. More soldiers came. Some looked human, some alien. Some wore crowns, others rags. They screamed as they attacked. Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He didn't want to kill. Yet every strike of the blade forced him to choose, defend himself or be destroyed. At last, the wave of shadows slowed. Only one figure remained. A small, thin shape, a child, clutching a broken weapon, eyes filled with fear. Daniel froze. The blade hummed, begging for action. The warship's voice rumbled. "Strike. End the battle." "No," Daniel whispered, tears burning in his eyes. He dropped the blade. "I won't kill a child. I don't care if this is a test. I won't do it." The child's shadow trembled, then slowly dissolved into golden light. The battlefield melted away. The fire, the smoke, the corpses all vanished in an instant. Daniel found himself back in the golden hall, breathless, sweat dripping down his face. The warship's voice was softer now, almost proud. "You have chosen. You are worthy." Daniel shook his head. "Worthy? No, I'm not. I'm just a cleaner. I don't even understand what just happened." "That is why you are chosen," the warship replied. "Those who seek power fail. Only those who fear it may hold it." Daniel collapsed against the wall, the mop still clutched in his hand, even here. His body shook with exhaustion, but his mind shook with fear. Outside, powerful enemies still waited, ready to tear him apart if he stepped back out. Inside, the ship demanded more of him, more than he ever wanted to give. He was trapped between two nightmares: the greed of the galaxy and the destiny of a weapon built for war. And the warship whispered again, like a promise and a curse, "This is only the beginning of your trials, Commander." The golden halls of the warship pulsed softly as Daniel leaned against the wall, still catching his breath from the strange vision. His heart hadn't stopped racing. He felt like a mouse trapped inside the jaws of something vast and ancient. Outside, the muffled roars of the crowd echoed faintly through the sealed hull. They hadn't gone away. They were waiting. Waiting for him to stumble, waiting for the warship to make a mistake, waiting for their chance to claim the prize. Why won't they stop? Daniel muttered, his voice cracking. "I don't want this. I never asked for any of it." The warship's calm voice answered inside his head. They will never stop. Power blinds them. They see only what they want. Daniel pressed his hands over his ears, but it didn't help. The voice was everywhere. It was part of him now. Meanwhile, outside the ship, the rich and powerful gathered in secret, the merchant prince with shattered jewels, the scarred general with burned armor, and the crime lords with their private guards and nomies who normally hated one another now stood side by side. Smoke and sparks still filled the hangar, but their greed was stronger than fear. "He is a janitor," one hissed. A weak, frightened man. The ship protects him now, but it cannot protect him forever. The general's cold eyes narrowed. "If we cannot control the warship, then no one can. We'll destroy him before the ship bonds too deeply." A crime lord smirked, sharp teeth glinting. "Not destroy, capture. Imagine keep him locked away. Whisper commands into his ear, and the warship will obey us through him." The others muttered in agreement. A new plan took shape in their greedy minds. They would not rush blindly as before. This time, they would strike carefully, silently, and when they did, the warship's chosen commander would never see it coming. Inside the vessel, Daniel explored slowly, guided by faint lights on the walls. He passed through vast chambers that seemed alive, their surfaces shifting and glowing. The air was strangely calm, like the inside of a dream, yet his thoughts were heavy. "They're out there plotting something. I can feel it. Yes," the ship confirmed. "They will betray you. It is their nature. You must be ready." Daniel laughed bitterly. "Me? Ready? I'm not a soldier. I don't even know how to fight. I've never commanded anyone, not even another janitor. I just clean floors." The warship's hum deepened, almost like a heartbeat. "You lead not by strength, but by choice." That is the lesson, but Daniel wasn't convinced. He was terrified. Suddenly, a shiver ran through the walls. The warship's light dimmed for an instant, like a shadow passing across its heart. "What was that?" Daniel whispered. "Intruders," the ship growled. "They have found a way inside." Daniel froze. "Inside? Here." Even as he spoke, the floor beneath him shifted, revealing a glowing pathway that led deeper into the ship. "Go, quickly. They come for you." Daniel ran, his footsteps echoing in the endless hall. For the first time, he realized how enormous the ship truly was. He felt like an insect crawling through a living giant's veins. Behind him, faint clangs echoed metal boots on crystal floors. The elites had sent a strike team. They were coming. Daniel darted through twisting passages, barely keeping up with the glowing lights that guided him. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, but fear kept him moving. At last, he burst into a massive chamber. It was round, with a ceiling like a starfield, and a single pedestal in the center. Upon it rested a sphere of light, swirling like a captured sun. "What is this?" Daniel asked, gasping. "My core," the warship said. "The heart of my power. Only you may touch it." Daniel stepped back, horrified. "No, no, no. If I touch that, something will happen, won't it? I'll be bound to you forever." Before the warship could answer, voices shouted behind him. Armored figures stormed into the chamber. Mercenaries, hired killers, faces hidden by masks. Their weapons gleamed, their footsteps pounded. "There he is," one barked. "Take him alive." Daniel spun, heart hammering. He had no weapon, no plan, no escape. He was trapped between the intruders and the glowing core of a warship that terrified him. The ship's voice thundered, louder than ever. "Choose commander. Touch the core and claim me fully, or be taken." Daniel's hands shook. He stared at the sphere of light, then at the soldiers charging toward him. His whole body screamed to run, But there was nowhere left to run. He had only one choice. With a cry, Daniel stumbled forward and pressed his hands into the glowing core. Light exploded. The mercenaries froze mid-step, thrown back by a wave of energy. The chamber roared with golden fire. Symbols lit up across the walls. The ship's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Daniel screamed as the light poured into him, searing his veins, filling his mind with visions of stars, battles, and memories older than time. And as he fell to his knees, gasping, the warship whispered in triumph, "Now you are truly mine." Daniel collapsed to the floor, his chest heaving, his vision blinded by golden light. His hands still burned from touching the warship's core. The moment he connected with it, a flood of memories and voices had rushed into his head, images of ancient battles, lost civilizations, and commanders long turned to dust. He wasn't a janitor anymore. At least, not to the warship. To the ship, he was commander. But Daniel wasn't ready. His knees trembled and his heart begged him to run away. The mercenaries weren't gone. The golden blast had thrown them back, but they were already pushing to their feet, weapons glowing. Their leaders snarled, "He's bonded with it. Kill him before the ship respawns." The warship's voice thundered inside Daniel's skull. "Stand. Give me the order." Daniel shook his head. "I don't know what to say. I don't know how to fight." "Then speak from your heart." "I will obey." The mercenaries charged. Their boots hammered against the glowing floor. Daniel panicked. He lifted his hands, his voice breaking. "Stop them. Protect me." The chamber roared to life. Golden walls shifted like living waves. Blades of light sprang from the ground, cutting off the mercenaries. The ceiling pulsed and rained beams of fire that slammed into their weapons, melting steel and scattering sparks. The mercenaries screamed, stumbling in fear. Daniel's jaw dropped. He hadn't given a clever order. He hadn't spoken like a general. He had just begged for help and the warship had turned his desperation into power. But the battle was only beginning. The hangar outside shook with thunder as entire armies moved. The elites had grown tired of waiting. They ordered their fleets to strike. Warships surrounded the dock, aiming their cannons at the station. Thousands of soldiers poured into the hangar, their banners glowing, their voices rising in fury. "Commander," the warship said, "they come to destroy me. And you." Daniel's throat tightened. He had never commanded anyone in his life. Now he was about to face armies. The golden chamber split open and Daniel was lifted onto a platform. In a blink, he was carried upward through twisting corridors, until he stood in the ship's command bridge. It wasn't like any bridge he had seen in the small shuttles he once cleaned. There were no buttons, no levers, no control panels. Instead, the entire room was a sphere of stars. Every planet, every ship, every soldier outside glowed around him like pieces of a living map. And in the center, Daniel floated, weightless, a mop still clenched in one hand. "Speak," the warship said. "Your words will guide my weapons." Outside, enemy fleets opened fire. Beams of energy cut through the void, smashing into the station. Explosions bloomed like fiery flowers. The hangar trembled and walls cracked. Daniel's pulse raced. He didn't know tactics. He didn't know commands. All he knew was survival. Blocked them. "Defend the station." He shouted. The warship obeyed instantly. Shields of golden light erupted around the dock, swallowing the blasts. Enemy cannons cracked and shattered against the barrier. Ships outside spun in confusion as their attacks failed. Inside the hangar, soldiers advanced, firing at the warship's hull. Daniel pointed clumsily. "Push them back." Golden waves burst from the ship, knocking soldiers off their feet. Energy surged through the hangar floor, scattering weapons like leaves in a storm. The crowd screamed, stumbling in terror. The elites watching from balconies were furious. "He's not a commander. He's a fool with a mop." One shouted, but the warship didn't care. It obeyed Daniel's every nervous word. Still, the pressure built. More fleets jumped in from hyperspace, answering the call of the greedy buyers. Daniel saw the map light up with enemy signals, hundreds of warships closing in. His chest tightened. "There's too many. We can't fight all of them." "You are not alone," the ship whispered. "Trust me. Give me the command." Daniel's voice cracked. "Fine. Do something, scare them." The warship roared. Its cannons lit the void, firing beams brighter than suns. One blast ripped through an enemy cruiser, splitting it in half. Another beam swept across a line of smaller ships, sending them fleeing in panic. The fleet staggered, their confidence broken by the sight of one vessel crushing them with casual power. Daniel stared in shock. He hadn't meant to destroy so much. His knees wobbled. "No. I didn't mean to. They would have destroyed you," the warship said firmly. "I only follow your heart." But Daniel's heart was torn. He wanted to live, yes, but he didn't want to become a killer, a destroyer, a tyrant like the ones who had tried to claim the ship. The battle raged on, chaos spreading across the station and space outside. Yet in the middle of it all, Daniel realized something terrifying. The warship listened only to him. Every word, every order, every desperate cry was power. And if he made one mistake, thousands could die in an instant. The janitor who once cleaned floors now held the fate of entire fleets in his trembling hands, and the galaxy would never forgive him for it. Asterisk. The battle was over, or so it seemed. Smoke drifted across the hangar. Shattered weapons and broken armor littered the ground. Outside in the void, the fleets that had dared to challenge the warship were gone, scattered into darkness. Some burned as wreckage. Others fled into hyperspace. Humiliated, and at the center of it all, stood Daniel, the janitor who had never wanted power. Now sitting on the bridge of the most feared ship in the galaxy, his hands shook. His heart ached. The mop still leaned against his chair, absurd among the glowing stars of the warship's control sphere. He stared at it, almost laughing, almost crying. "This isn't me," he whispered. "I was supposed to mop floors today. That's all. I just wanted to be invisible." The warship's voice echoed gently. "You cannot be invisible anymore, Commander. The galaxy has seen you." Daniel looked at the map around him. Red dots in enemy fleets still pulsed at the edges, waiting, watching. They hadn't all gone. They were regrouping. He knew it. "Why me?" His voice cracked. "Why would you bow to someone like me?" The warship pulsed with golden light. "Because you did not want me. Because you do not hunger for conquest. Those who crave power cannot bear it without falling to ruin. But your heart resists it. That is why I chose you." Daniel pressed his palms to his face. He didn't feel chosen. He felt cursed. He could already see the hatred in the eyes of the survivors. The kings, the generals, the princes, they would never forgive him for this humiliation. Even now, they were plotting revenge. "Commander," the ship said, its tone suddenly sharper. "Do you hear them?" Daniel froze. His head filled with whispers, not from the ship, but from outside. The station was alive with transmissions. Angry voices. Desperate bargains. Secret deals. Kill the human. Capture him. Break him. Make him obey. He must not keep the warship. No one will follow us if he does. Daniel's stomach turned. The betrayal hadn't ended with the failed battle. It had only begun. He staggered to his feet. "I can't do this. I'm just one man. They'll come again, stronger next time. I can't fight the whole galaxy. The warship's golden light dimmed as though it were listening carefully. Then, softly, it replied, "You are not one man. You are me. Together, we are more than they can imagine." Before Daniel could answer, the floor beneath him shifted. The star map zoomed out, pulling him higher until he wasn't just looking at one dock or one fleet. He saw the galaxy, billions of stars, thousands of empires, countless lives, and in the darkness between those stars, shadows stirred. Shapes of titanic ships far older than anything in the hangar. Whole armadas sleeping in silence, waiting for something. "What is that?" Daniel whispered, horrified. The warship's voice was grave now. "The others. My brothers and sisters. Built long ago. Waiting for a true commander to awaken them. They have slept for ages. But your awakening will not remain secret for long." Daniel's throat tightened. "You mean there are more like you?" "Yes," the ship rumbled. "And some are not loyal to purity. They wait for war." Daniel's knees weakened. If the galaxy already wanted him dead for controlling one ship, what would happen if it learned there were entire fleets hidden out there? Fleets that could burn worlds in hours. The warship's gates pulsed, golden and endless. You must decide. Will you lead? Or will you fall and let the galaxy burn? Daniel shook his head violently. "No, I don't want to lead anything. I just want my life back." "That life is gone," the warship said. "You are commander now. Whether you accept it or not, the galaxy will chase you. Some to kill you. Some to worship you. And some to test you." Daniel stood there, trembling, staring at the endless stars. He felt small, weaker than ever, but the truth was crushing him. There was no escape. He had been chosen, whether by mistake or by fate. And now the entire galaxy would come for him. His mop clattered to the floor, echoing through the golden chamber. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then the warship spoke one final time, its voice deep and certain. "The first battle is won. But the real war is just beginning." Daniel closed his eyes, the weight of galaxies pressing down on him. He was a janitor no more, and somewhere, far away in the darkness, another ancient warship stirred awake its eyes, glowing red.